Another week and another loss for the New York Jets. Now, for those of you who've been watching and listening, you pretty much know what direction I'm going to go down. And I've been getting some feedback from you, mostly positive and agreeing with me, but I've also gotten some people that have basically been saying, I'm too hard on Adam Gase. I'm too hard on him. Look, his starting quarterback's down after all. But there are certain things that are troubling to me and should be troubling to Jets fans. And the biggest things I keep hearing are just excuses after excuses. And look, I get Gase hasn't built in excuses, but this season continues on the path it's going. He is a one-and-done coach. He cannot come back for a second year. And now I know some people are going to say, oh, you're too harsh. He doesn't have Sam Darnold. This isn't a fair evaluation of him. Let me ask you this. Do you enjoy watching the Jets offense this year? I mean, I see youth games where teams can at least move the ball into the red zone. The Jets were gifted a touchdown yesterday. Could you imagine if the Jets didn't get that turnover? They wouldn't have even come close to the red zone all game long. Against a defense that, may I remind you, has the 32nd ranked secondary in the NFL. Oh boy. And now they get to play the Cowboys, who were embarrassed by the Packers on national TV. Oh, this is not going to be good next week for the Jets. And I'm saying this to the front office right now because it's clear Adam Gase is desperate to get Sam Darnold back. Do not put Sam Darnold in until he's 100%. I would actually hold him out after the Patriot game. I'm not putting him behind that offensive line against the Cowboys and the Patriots. But we'll see what happens. And this was the biggest argument I kept getting for Adam Gase. Well, he's got a third-string quarterback. Can't win with that. Did you notice what happened in Pittsburgh this weekend? Oh, yeah, they were down to their third-string quarterback. And, they could actually move the football and, actually score points. And this was an offense that, look, we've been saying it. They have not been good this year. But at least they're competent and they moved the ball and they were competitive. They had a chance to beat the Ravens yesterday with a third-string quarterback. I mean, look around the league to all the injuries. Look at all the backup quarterbacks doing well. And the Jets' offensive stats, less than 150 yards of total offense, that is 40s numbers for offense. This is looking like the original wing T, they didn't even throw forward passes offense. That's how bad it's been. This team looks horrible offensively. And once again, this defense looks pretty darn good. And I have to give Greg Williams a lot of credit. But this season is going to get a lot uglier before it gets pretty again. And here's the biggest things I look for in a head coach. There's 3 simple things that I think every coach in football, you would expect this in the NFL, but there's 3 key things. It doesn't matter the scheme. It doesn't matter the personality. It doesn't matter if they're a personable coach, if they're hard on the players. There's 3 things I look for. Are you prepared? Number 1. Number 2, can you make adjustments? And number 3, do the players buy into you? Do they listen to you? And right now, Adam Gase is 0 for 3. Oh, you don't believe me? Oh, okay. Well, let's look back at this. Not only did the Jets have a chance to figure out this offense because they had a bye, they had 2 weeks. Great coaches like Bill Belichick and Andy Reid off of byes, they win over 70% of their games. Why? Because they get an extra week to prepare. The Jets had that. And if Adam Gase, the quarterback whisperer, knew that he had no chance with Luke Falk, maybe he should have been more aggressive and go to the general manager and go to the front office and say, hey, look, I need you to sign a quarterback. I need you to trade for a quarterback. I need someone else, anyone else. And then it comes out that this whole week gave all the first-team reps to Sam Darnold. He was so hoping that Sam Darnold could play, but didn't think, there's a good chance he's not going to play. And even on Monday last week, when Darnold would turn to practice, I said, look, this is very touch and go. Everything has to go perfectly for him to have a shot to play. A shot to play on Sunday. And, of course, it didn't happen. So, of course, Luke Falk is also the type of player you could give him 50,000 reps, and I don't think it would have made much of a difference. And look, I know we're picking on Luke Falk. I actually think he could be a good quarterback. He's got a lot of things I like. He's got decent mobility, but look, you can tell he's over his head. But that's on coaching. This team had 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prepare for this game. 2 weeks to make an adjustment. Didn't do it. You can come prepared and have a great game script. The first 20 plays of your game are scripted, and the Jets look like they had no idea what they were doing. And then, okay, well, it's not working. You make those adjustments at halftime, and they didn't do that either. I mean, this offense, we're not just talking about a bad offense. We're talking about a historically bad offense. I want you to think about this. In today's NFL, where we're used to seeing touchdowns on back-to-back possessions for offenses, the Jets have 2 offensive touchdowns this season. They have 2 offensive touchdowns. Even with great defenses, with all the rules geared toward offense, that's what they have. And this is supposed to be an offensive coach? Say what you want about Todd Bowles. Say what you will about Rex Ryan. Both of those guys had their faults, and I get that. But I will tell you this. Their side of the ball was always a strength. They were both defensive guys. And guess what? Their offenses might have struggled, but for the most part, their defenses were prepared. They were able to excel at their craft. Adam Gase is the quote-unquote quarterback guru. And this is a historically bad offense. And everyone keeps making these excuses. Well, Pittsburgh did fine with the third-string quarterback. The NFL is a no-excuse business. Players get hurt all the time. If anything, this is the adjustment league. This is the league where you have to be a good coach and make those necessary adjustments. And right now, this Jet team, they're not just looking bad. They're historically bad. You look at the winless teams right now, they don't have hope. You look at the Jets, if I was to put them up against the other winless teams right now, I don't think they could beat them. I don't think they could beat them. Even Miami, who is on purpose looking like they're trying to tank the season, I think it'd be a close game right now. Even if Sam Darnold comes back. Look, Sam Darnold, I think, will help elevate this offense. I do think Sam coming back will be huge. C.J. Mosley coming back will be huge. Chris Herndon is a player people have forgotten about. Those are nice additions. But are they coming in and solving all the problems and fixing everything that's wrong with this team? No. No. And Adam Gase just looks like he is in over his head. A great example yesterday was that 4th down play where they were debating whether to go for it or not, and they ended up kicking a field goal, but because they took so long to decide, they burned them a timeout, and they missed the field goal. Look, Adam Gase, I understand people want to give him a leash, and I have always been on the side of giving coaches a longer leash. But here's the thing with the Adam Gase signing. When you brought in Adam Gase, you brought in a guy that's been a head coach, that has failed as a head coach. So you're hoping to see adjustments or improvement, and I've been big on this. This is what I keep saying with Adam Gase, which is why I've been hard on him. When you get fired, I want to see adjustments. I want you to learn from your mistakes. It's that old cliche, you learn more from failure than you do from success. And right now for Adam Gase, I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that improvement. The locker room doesn't seem to buy into him, which was the big problem in Miami. And here's the really big kicker. Because the Jets took a risk, and I understand a lot of things came out about Mike McCarthy, and I understand that there were people in the front office that were worried about bringing him in. I get all of that. But here's the thing. Mike McCarthy publicly said he wanted to be the head coach of the Jets with Sam Darnold. We're talking about a guy that has a world championship ring. A guy that made the playoffs constantly in Green Bay. And even look this year, the Packers, what are they led by? It's their defense. LaFleur hasn't exactly revolutionized their offense. If anything, their offense looks just as simplistic as it did last year, but they have a healthy Aaron Jones that they've realized, look, we need to run the football. Aaron Rodgers has not been elevated this year. I mean, we were expecting an explosion of this. He's going to revolutionize Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to get back. Well, For me, the Packers have been great because of their defense, because of their run game. It's been in spite of Aaron Rodgers. Look, I was even thinking about this. Could they bring in Mike McCarthy now and just take a mulligan? Seriously. I mean, this is a franchise. We keep hearing that old cliche, same old Jets. Doesn't this feel Jet-like? That their head coach doesn't give their quarterback enough reps in practice. It's not just that this team has been bad. Gase has looked overwhelmed in the press conference. He doesn't look like he's organized. Those are my biggest things. Are you organized and are you prepared? I'm going to remind you again, this team had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And they look worse than they did before the bye. They look worse than they did before the bye. They have playmakers like Robbie Anderson, who they can't figure out how to get the ball to. They have Ty Montgomery, who's a nice, versatile back out of the backfield that they can't figure out how to get the ball to. I mean, can this team figure out something? It's not a good sign when Greg Williams is out-coaching you on the defensive side. And look, each of those units has lost their quarterback of the unit. C.J. Mosley was the quarterback of that defense. But you know what? They look bad in that Buffalo game. But since then, they've made the adjustments, and oh, look, they've been a competent defense that's kept this team in games, even though Leonard Williams has been absolutely horrendous this year. Quinnen Williams has missed 2 games and hasn't been the player that they thought he would be as the number 3 pick. I'm hoping he gets better, but he has not exactly jumped off the screen except when he whiffs on a tackle for Carson Wentz yesterday. I'm just looking at that defense. They made adjustments. When their quarterback of the unit went down, I'm not seeing that on the offensive side. I'm not seeing it. And for people saying, well, Gase, he lost his quarterbacks. Pittsburgh did fine. Other teams around the league are doing fine. He can't even get the ball past midfield. It's not that they're just not scoring. They're not getting the ball past midfield. They can't get first downs. This is the NFL. And you can't get first downs in an era where everything is geared toward the offense. You look at the amount of yards this offense is getting, those numbers would be impressive in 1940. It's 2019. Good Lord, this team just is maddening. And this is the sad part. They have some players on this team. I don't think they're as bad as their 0-4 record is. I do think they'll be better when Sam Darnold comes back, when Chris Herndon comes back. But they're not going to cure all the team's problems. And to me, once again, it's Adam Gase. And people saying, oh, you got to give him time. He's been a head coach. He's been a head coach in Miami. And my biggest thing was, did he learn from that job? And from the first 4 weeks of this season, it's not working. He hasn't learned. And for people saying, well, you can't fire after 1 year. Why not? Arizona did that. They brought in Cliff Kingsbury. You know what? They look like they at least have hope. Their offense looks like they have potential to grow. Cliff Kingsbury, I'll say this, the Cardinals are the most exciting 1-3-1 team to watch at football. Because they can actually move the football. They're creative. They do a lot of interesting things. And I understand that people are going to say, well, they don't have Sam Darnold. And I get that. I understand that. But Pittsburgh, they lost their backup quarterback. Did you notice them on Monday night against the Bengals? Did you notice them against the Ravens? How they were getting creative because they realized, oh, we don't have a good quarterback. Where's that with Adam Gase, this offensive mastermind that I keep being told by people in the media? Look, you got to get this right. You got to get this right. Especially if you feel that Sam Darnold is your quarterback. You got to get this right. Look, I get that the Jets will get criticism if they fire Gase at the end of the season after 1 year. But if people watch this team, they're going to be like, okay, that's obvious. It wasn't working. I'd rather have the Jets get rid of him a year early than a year late. Because I'm still looking. Mike McCarthy is still out there. See if he still wants to coach. You got Lincoln Riley. Can you back up a truck to him? If Harbaugh somehow is out at Michigan, can you back up a truck to Ann Arbor? Because right now, this isn't just bad. This is absolutely embarrassing. This team is an embarrassment. Jay Gruden was fired. But did you notice the players in the Washington locker room? Did you notice Chris Thompson crying about his head coach? They actually care about that head coach. If Adam Gase was fired tomorrow, do you think anyone in that locker room would shed a tear? Do you think anyone would be upset? Do you think it'd be like, oh, okay, well, whatever, he's gone? They're saying without saying it in interviews. They're not prepared. I can get being outcoached. I can get being short-manned. I get all that. But this team looked absolutely unprepared for a team that had 2 weeks to prepare. How are they going to look against Dallas when they have only a week to prepare? How are they going to look against New England with a week to prepare? How are they going to look against Jacksonville with a week to prepare? God, how are they going to look against the Dolphins? Do you really think this team is a lot better than Miami right now? Really, like, is this team really better? And that's a team that's making it clear they're playing entirely for the future. They're trading away good young pieces. So it's another week where we go, what is Adam Gase doing? Another week where he just keeps affirming to me he is not the right man for this job. And look, I get he might look better when Sam Darnold comes back, but even if Sam Darnold comes back, we've seen this team. Do you really think this team is going to be better than 4-12 this year, even with their back end of the schedule? Do you really think this team is going to not be picking in the top 5 in the upcoming draft next year? I don't think so. And this was a coach. He's a head coach. He's not a first-time coordinator. He's not a coach from college. Did he learn from Miami? And what I'm seeing is no. And look, I know there's people out there, and I've gotten a couple emails from you saying, look, he can't win when you're on your third-string quarterback. Every excuse I keep getting, I look around this league and I keep saying, well, that team's doing it, that team's doing it. And another week, Pittsburgh, guess what they did? They almost beat Baltimore with a third-string quarterback who was undrafted. He walked in. That offense looked like they could at least move the football past the 50. I'm not asking for this team to be the greatest show on turf. I'm not asking this team to score 30 points a week. Heck, I'm not even asking this team to score 21 points this week. Can you get the ball past the 50 a couple times a game? For me, Gase is running out of excuses. This is unwatchable football. This is as bad of a Jet team and as bad of a Jet offense as I can ever remember. We're not talking about a bad offense. We're talking about a boring, uninteresting, and an offense that can't even function. They can't even function. Say what you want about Todd Bowles, Rex Ryan, Eric Mangini, but you know what? Their specialty defense, they actually did a pretty decent job coaching those units. Adam Gase's offense. This offense is worse than they were a year ago. And they added Le'Veon Bell. They added pieces, and I get the offensive line is bad. But bad offensive lines are everywhere in the NFL. Great coaches coach around it. But I think, as you know by now, I don't think Adam Gase is a good head coach and should be the head coach of the Jets past this season.